Hi, I'm Philip J. Morris and I'm the director of Sessions by Ifeanyi Frederick.
And hi, I'm Joseph Black and I'm playing Tunde.
So Joseph, what drew you to coming on board the play?
The script, for one. It's one of those times, obviously, if I'm being honest, we were all locked down, right? So for a lot of us, it's been a long time since we've actually been able to do what we love, which is theatre. So you're getting all these auditions coming through and you're like, okay, so I'm just doing all this to try and get something. And then when you find one that you love, I was like, I need this play. And no one else has taken this play. So I was very excited to be in the audition room. And then after getting in there and meeting you and Ife, it was, yeah. I'm glad I'm here, let's put it that way. How about you, actually? What was your experience when you first read the script?
So when I first read the script, I think what drew me to the play is that I recognized Tunde. I was reading it thinking, I know this guy. Like, this is someone who represents my friends, who represents my brothers, who represents my uncles, cousins. Like, it was a very familiar character, and in terms of my own personal connection to like black male mental health, in terms of seeing a character that's actually trying to like find help, really interested me and drew me to like wanting to know more. I had so many questions for Ife after like reading the text because I was so invested and so like excited by the idea of a character being represented on stage that represents people like me and yourself.
With Tunde, he's such a real character, from what I can tell. He's not like the perfect, most likable person, but he's not someone who's just like as horrible either. He's grey. And I think, as all human beings are to a degree, we're not straight one thing or another, innit?
Like, we're all flawed, do you know what I mean? So like
exactly.
some of the thoughts that come to mind are thoughts that resonated with myself in terms of like sitting in front of a stranger and kind of being unsure about them, like unpicking your life and feeling like an element of scrutiny.
Oh yeah.
And so it's really like fascinating to see that ongoing battle throughout the play. Because when I first read the script, I was like, oh, how is trust going to be gained, and what like effects and changes does this process have to Tunde's life? And so it's like really fascinating to see.
Yeah. It also it's almost like a mirror in some respects, right? Because you're looking at someone who you don't necessarily know too well, and you put, okay, they're thinking that about me. That's what it is.
It's a lot of projection. It's hard to like actually talk about your feelings. Yeah. Like in any circumstance. Let alone someone you've met for the first time. Who's like, great. We have 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks to try and deal with some of like the deeper rooted issues that you're going through. That's hard.
Yeah. It's also being able to allow that to happen, because if you're going to go through all your luggage and unpack, you have to show all of those things that are very much personal and private to you, and allowing someone else to help you unpack that.
I really like that analogy actually, because in unpacking there are the big and small things, but the small things are still important. Do you know what I mean? That are like stored away. So I really like that analogy, because that's what happens in this play. Like, there's things that are sort of under the radar or in the bag that just slowly starts to reveal itself and get pulled out. So what's been a really like fascinating process in directing this piece and working on a one-man show is the energy that's required to carry the show. Right. So you would know from like loads of notes, there have been loads of things of us kind of focusing on the shifts of energy, and especially because in moments of the play, Tunde becomes other characters, and it's very much about like what those people in Tunde's lives mean to him and how their opinions affect him. And so like from a mental health perspective, we all kind of gather our own ideas of what people feel about us or think of us. And so it's been such a nice challenge to like channel, the people that are in Tunde's lives and the way that he sees it. So it's going to be really interesting for the audience to kind of pick up his, the expectations, I guess, and the weight that Tunde is feeling from those in his life.
To be honest, actually, I felt that very much. We're talking about doing a one-man show or one-hander. Being in this room, I came in here fully expecting like, okay, it's a monologue. It's on me. I'm gonna have to make sure I gotta do this the right way, and and then you realize how collaborative this This is such a collaborative process, and I feel so blessed to have such. Oh man, I feel so cliche, but I gotta be honest. Honestly, it is. It's true. Like, everybody here is bringing not only just something amazing within the craft of what they have, but the conversations that we have in terms of that person's relationship, not necessarily with their personal one, but with their mum, with their dad, with their brothers and sisters. What it was like going to school, the Tunde that they knew in their life, the time that they were Tunde themselves, and just getting a bit of everybody's life into the room, so it just feels significantly more real.
Big time.
And the thing that I feel is very much in my head, it's not just how Tunde has thoughts of how his parents may be or his friends may be. It's also realizing that at some points maybe the audience has an idea of what his parents might be like, or what his friends might be like, or relationships might be like. And going, because we all have that effect of looking for the bad guy. Sometimes there's no bad guy. Sometimes it's just people who deal with certain things based on what's happened to them previously in their own lives.
It's about perception.
It's perception.
And so like the world, what we worked hard in doing is building the world around Tunde and understanding his world and how he views it. And whether that fits, as you said, the like expectations versus reality.
Right.
And I guess what's been like super useful is all of our connection in the room to mental health in itself. Like at least one of us have been to therapy before and have had experience, if not all of us, have been in that conundrum of like trying to work out things, and also like when life doesn't quite look like how you imagined it, like 15 years ago, do you know what I mean? You may have thought that by 30 you'd be here or there or doing all these kind of things and owning loads of properties and stuff, and actually when that doesn't work out for whatever reason, how do you navigate through it, and how do you have resilience in maybe not hitting those expectations, living in the reality?
It's not, life isn't a checkbox, and I feel like that's what, either we're taught because of what our parents were taught, the way generations have changed in terms of what you're supposed to have and expectations of what's supposed to happen. Obviously you want to still strive to be able to do the best that you can, leave your mark, make sure you can do well by other people who are important to your life, but to be able to do that, you also need to look after yourself, and self-care is a very big thing. And do you know what, man? I honestly wish the conversation around mental health was just a bit more commonplace, because it's not something that only 1 in a million people deal with. It's something that everybody's had some degree of it, whether they've chosen to ignore it and how that affects their life. Being able to just talk about it, even if you talk to your friends, that's still going like
it's something.
Exactly.
And I think that's the beauty of this play, is that it's opening a window for people to maybe connect and see themselves, maybe not even just in Tunde, but the other characters that exist, and maybe, like, I would like to think this play makes, when they leave, it makes them wonder, like, if they should call someone just to check in, like, and see how far a check-in can go. Toxic masculinity is like a massive topic that we've interrogated throughout R&D process and rehearsal process, because Tunde he's complex, and I think there's something about the hidden shame and how he's kind of not ready to express that, and in that lack of like being ready to express that, it evokes like some traits that are not great, do you know what I mean, and like really questionable. Yeah. Actually, I know what you're talking about specifically, but in terms of what I want to say, like what men can do, or what some people can perceive that men can do, which is comes off across as toxic or whatever it might be, in a place of self-soothing. And do you know what? The best way to actually really describe it for me is, when it comes to the shame, it's all based on how he's supposed to be. Everybody has an expectation of, as a man, you should da-da-da. As a man, you need to be doing da-da-da. As a man who's nearly turning 30 years old, you should da-da-da-da-da. And there's a bit of that about race as well. And what I really love about this play, a big thing about it has also been dialect. And for so many years, and it's actually it's kind of the deepest thing for me, but for so many years, it was like, well, just because I'm black, why do I have to sound a certain way? I can do that. But then there's also part of that makes me feel like you're almost running away from your identity
to be able to prove that you can be an individual. But how about this? How about as a black man, you can sound a certain way and still be intellectual? Can still be very logical. It could still be very mathematical within your approach to your own problems and things around you and your relationships. And I feel like, I mean, I can only talk about my own experiences, but as a black man, I feel like I'm constantly told how I'm supposed to be, how I'm supposed to support, how I'm supposed to love, how I'm supposed to talk, how I'm supposed to hold myself, how I'm supposed to do a lot of different things. And what I really love about this play is it challenges a lot of the stereotypes of what we are supposed to be without ignoring the massive parts of our culture that still makes us connected, of going, I do remember that song. Yeah. When I get gassed, I still do this, and you know, all those kind of things, and not running from that.
There are massive like tropes throughout the play, and like tropes that Tunde feels attached to in terms of like just touching again on like toxic masculinity in terms of not feeling comfortable with crying, to uphold. Also there being like an upheld aggression and having to try and like navigate through that. Do you know what I mean? And it's really interesting as we go along, like as we unravel kind of where some of these things are coming from. It really touches a nerve that I think is really important for us to truthfully portray in all of its flaws and all of its like beauty at the same time.
The wonderful thing about theatre is you can physically get to see something on stage that you can relate to someone that you know, or something within yourself. Those moments of self-thought that you never really will see, because that internal dialogue, where however dark or however funny it can be or however light it could be, we don't always hear what happens within someone else's mind. And sometimes you're thinking like, well, I can't say that because I'm the only person who thinks about that. Like, obviously, that's ridiculous. And you hear someone else, you go, oh, okay, so it's not just me.
Yeah.
And then even that moment as well, when you're watching something on stage, and you go, wait, hold on, someone else had my experience, and then you look around, and several people are going, oh, that's me too. You're like, hold on, so I thought it was just me.
Yeah.
There's a camaraderie that can kind of happen while watching a piece, because you all have this moment where you kind of can connect together, just knowing that you're not alone in certain things.
Yeah, I think that's the powerful thing about theatre is connection, and I think whether you identify a piece of yourself in the characters or the themes, those things are the things that tend to like live with you beyond the show. And actually, when you're in your tube back home or when you're on your bus back home, you're like, that moment like spoke to me.